Welcome to Wesley Impact. This is the television program of Wesley Mission, where we do our best to share with you the work that we do every day of the year, both in our community services and across our congregational life. Later in the program, I'll start a new message series that was filmed at a special Easter outreach event we held earlier this year. The theme is based around the cross, the crucifixion, and the people who Jesus interacted with. I'm looking forward to sharing that with you later today and over coming weeks. My guest today is City Bible Forum speaker, author, theologian, cultural analyst, and barista, medical doctor, Sam Chan. Now, I was a judge this year for the Sparklit Christian Book of the Year competition, and I had the pleasure of reading Sam's most recent book, How to Talk About Jesus Without Being That Guy, a book that was shortlisted in that competition. To hear more about what he does and about his book, it's an honour to speak to him now. Welcome, Sam. It's great to have you with us. Tell us about City Bible Forum.
In City Bible Forum, we try to reach the world with Jesus, but through the workers in the workplace. And it sort of makes sense because if you think about it, we spend most of our working life at work, and most of our non-Christian friends come from work. So it's probably the best way of reaching as many people as possible with Jesus, and it's in the workplace.
So what sort of stuff does City Bible Forum do? How does it equip people to share Jesus with their work colleagues and friends?
So maybe there are two things that we do. We try to help Christians in the workplace stand up and be strong. So we encourage them, we equip them, we network them, and we give them the resources they need to be Christians in the workplace. But then we also help them to stand out, to be Jesus in the workplace in words and action. And so we equip them to tell their friends about Jesus. And then we also provide the safe spaces where they can have conversations about Jesus by putting on events where people can hear about Jesus in very socially appropriate ways.
So what are some of the resources, what are some of the events that the City Bible Forum provides and hosts? I mean, give us some examples of that.
Yeah, so for example, you could invite me to speak in your workplace. So for example, some workers at Macquarie Bank have invited me to speak in their little Christian group for an Easter talk. But sometimes groups get together. So at Barangaroo, about 10 companies, so we're talking about Westpac, Lendlease, put together this big Easter conference, and about 200 people turned up to hear me talk about Easter. And we're doing that again in about a month's time, but it'll be online. So we've pivoted and adjusted a lot for COVID. Other times, companies will put on something a bit more like where we look at a buzz topic of the day, like well-being or vaccinations, and they get me to come and speak on a topic and just show how the Christian worldview informs us about these topics. We also put on these things called The Edge, which are like TED Talks, but you get very short talks on a topic of the day. So for example, I will be speaking on well-being in October at one of these Edge Talks.
Fantastic. So talk to us about what you're seeing over the last 18 months. Obviously, we've been living in this pandemic climate. The appetite for people to have conversation about faith, about spirituality. What are you seeing? What are you experiencing? And what are the people you're working with? What are they seeing and experiencing as well?
Yeah, studies show that people are way more open to the idea of God, faith, and spirituality during this COVID pandemic. Something like 20, 40, 60% more Australians are praying than ever before. And I've noticed now when I turn up to work 1 or 2 days a week as a doctor, people are a lot more vulnerable. So what we used to think was safe is not safe at all. So suddenly there's a lot of uncertainty in the air. And what's so funny was usually in the workforce on Friday, you always ask everyone, what are you doing on the weekend? And on Monday, you always ask, what did you do on the weekend? Suddenly those questions are a joke, like, what are you doing this weekend? And everyone says, well, nothing. And on Monday, you say, what did you do on the weekend? And they go, nothing. And I think so things have just changed overnight. Conversations have changed. So what I've really noticed is what I call the power of the second question. Just ask people, well, how are things really? Or when you ask, how are the kids doing at school? Everyone goes, oh, yeah, they're great. They're loving online school. And then if you've earned enough social trust, just pause. It's the power of the second question. How are they really doing at school? And it's showing that, hey, we have a genuine interest, a genuine concern. And what I've noticed is I offer to pray now. I say, hey, my wife, my kids, we pray every night for our friends. Is it okay if we pray for you? And I've noticed in the pandemic, everyone says, yes, please, could you pray? So I think people are way more open to the idea there must be something more to life than just this, because otherwise, what is life? You know, a virus is just part of the random ebb and flow of this universe, unless there really is a loving God behind this universe and there's a wisdom that we can't see.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the same experience as you in this season of when I ask people if I can pray for them. I can't remember the last time someone said, no, I'm not comfortable with that. People love, in fact, most people are touched that you would actually offer to do that, and when they know it's coming from a genuine place. So there's this fertile ground for genuine conversations with people around faith and the deeper issues of life that perhaps we've not experienced for some time, which is awesome. So City Bible Forum, it sounds like it's not just for people of faith, it's for all people. Would that be right?
Oh, that is so right. See, we deliberately provide those safe spaces where people can explore faith, tradition, the sacred, and even the Christian tradition. And often when we have public gatherings, the first thing we say is this event is open to people of all faiths, all traditions, all worldviews. So we just ask only one thing of you, that, you know, be sensitive to those of different worldviews from you. So this can be a safe space for those conversations to happen.
It's fantastic. Sam, I'm going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we're going to talk to you about Espresso Theology, your podcast, but also about your most recent book, How to Talk About Jesus Without Being That Guy. Look forward to seeing you again in just a moment.
If you would like to learn more about Wesley Mission, visit wesleymission.org.au. You can find help in our community services, connect with our church and congregations, discover a volunteer role that suits you, stay up to date on the latest news and information, donate to support our work, and help make a positive difference in your community. You can also connect with us on social media and subscribe to receive the latest news and information about Wesley Mission directly into your inbox. Visit wesleymission.org.au.
Do be in touch if Wesley Mission could be of help to you or a loved one in any way. Contact details are on the screen now, and we're always ready to roll up our sleeves and lend a helping hand however we can. I'd like to continue my conversation with author, theologian, cultural analyst, and medical doctor Sam Chan. Now, you pack a lot into who you are, Sam. I mean, you actually recorded a podcast series, Espresso Theology, with a friend, and can you tell us about the journey towards doing that and what that was all about, what you were trying to achieve?
Oh, the journey was simply, I am Sam Chan, the other guy was Sam Wan. We're both Asian Australians. We both went to Sydney Missionary and Bible College, and we thought, this must be a match made in heaven. Sam Chan, Sam Wan, let's do a podcast. And we jokingly called it Espresso and Earl Grey because I have a website called Espresso Theology, which is all very short, sharp, in your face. He's much more of he's a reader, he's a poet, So his thing was Earl Grey, aromatic, tea. And I thought, well, let's just see how we complement each other in conversations about life, everything.
Sam, you've been the author of 5 books, and there's a consistent theme around evangelism. That is sharing the good news of Jesus with others and doing that in culturally relevant ways. Can you talk to us about that common thread that goes through the books that you have written?
I think it's in the DNA of every Christian to want to tell their friends about Jesus. And we just so want it. We just know it. Also, in the Bible are so many verses telling us, hey, you should tell your friends about Jesus. At the same time, we all know that if we really want this world to change, and if we want to bring the love of Jesus, his mercy, his justice on this planet, we do need to tell our friends about Jesus. It will bring lasting change. I think we all want to do this, but at the same time, we have this feeling that the world has changed. We're not in the Billy Graham era anymore. Somehow, it's no longer as simple as just tell your friends about Jesus. So I say it's like when I was the only kid in my class who could not swim. And the swimming teacher didn't know what to do with me. She used to just say, swim, as if that would help me swim, because everyone else could swim. She didn't know how to teach someone who could not swim to swim. And I think that's what Christians feel like. People are always saying, you should tell your friends about Jesus. And we think, how? I would if I could. Please equip me. And I thought, I want to equip, the rest of Australia with just these simple lifestyle changes where we can tell our friends about Jesus.
Sam, your latest book, How to Talk About Jesus Without Being That Guy, it was named by Outreach magazine as the best book on evangelism and apologetics. I mean, that's huge kudos. It was shortlisted for Christian Book of the Year here in Australia. What's the genesis of this book? What are you trying to achieve with it?
Yeah, so I thought, well, blank slate. Let's pretend Australia is an unreached country, because in effect, we're post-reached, we're post-churched, we may as well say we're unreached. How would a missionary reach Australia starting from scratch? I thought, they will do it through these simple lifestyle changes. And that's what I share in the book. One of the things I say in the book is our friends don't believe in Jesus. The main reason is not because they haven't heard it, because they probably haven't, but they think they've heard about Jesus, but they have no Christian friends in their life. So maybe the biggest lifestyle change we can do is to merge our universes of friends so that our non-Christian friends meets our Christian universe of friends and they become friends with each other. So suddenly our non-Christian friends won't just have us as the only bozo Christian in their life, but they'll have 5, 10 bozo Christians in their life. And suddenly the story of Jesus won't just be true, but it'll be way more believable just because they know other people who believe in Jesus.
Awesome. Back in 1979, I attended the Billy Graham Crusade here in Sydney. And, it was very much, what was known as a primary example of evangelism. How have things changed, if they have, since those days, the 50s when Graham came here to Australia on the first occasion, the 70s? Have things shifted? Have things changed? And if they have, how have they changed?
Yeah, things have changed so much. As I mentioned in the book, I too was at Billy Graham's 1979 crusade. I was in high school and Billy was at his best. He gives the 20-minute Bible talk. He tells people, pray the prayer. And if you prayed the prayer, come down the front, and he gives that famous line, the buses will wait. Meaning the non-Christian that night came on a church bus. Meaning back then, the non-believer was a churched non-believer. And I think that is so right. When I went to Sunday school, most of the kids in my class were non-believers from non-believing parents. That's just what Australia did back then. Dump your kids on church on a Sunday morning for free childcare while the parents could sleep in. But it just meant the non-believer back then had done church, had done boys brigade, had done youth group, had been in the church soccer team or netball team. They were a church non-believer. So that's the Billy Graham phase, where Billy is just asking them to believe what they've heard 100 times before. Billy is saying, hey, don't you think it's time? Come on, it's true. It's time to believe. So we had that phase of evangelism. Rico Tice says the next phase of evangelism was what he calls the defeater belief phase, where our non-believing friends have heard the gospel, but they can't believe it because of defeater beliefs that stop them believing. How can I trust the Bible? The problem of science, the problem of other religions, the problem of evil. So evangelism meant we had to remove those defeater beliefs and then they would believe the gospel. But Rico Tice says we're now in a third and different phase of evangelism where our non-believing friends are living in a different universe. They don't know what Christians believe. They don't care what Christians believe. Deep down, they're afraid that what Christians believe is wrong, evil, and hurting and hurtful. So they stay separate from us. So I think it's no longer as simple as, hey, just invite your friend to a 20-minute Bible talk. No, it's way more than that. It's way more of a journey to belief where we have to persuade our friends to at least leave their universe and come into our universe and see that what we have is way more wise, way more beautiful, way more livable than they ever dared imagine.
Fantastic. That's such a helpful overview of the shift and the change and the need for us as Christians to break out of our enclaves and to merge our worlds, the world of might be church and our Christian friends with the world of those around us that we want to share the good news with. Fantastic. Sam, you've got a lot on your plate. What's next on the horizon for you?
I think, with City Bible Forum in October, we have the Edge Talks, and I've been booked as one of the speakers, and I am going to talk on well-being, just how the Christian worldview can lead to more well-being in our life. And I think in this time of COVID, isolation, lockdown, crisis, I think we need to hear this message way more than ever before.
Finally, Sam, if someone's watching today and they're wanting to share their faith with their friends in real and relevant ways, but they're really anxious about that, they're really unsure about how to do that, what would be just one simple thing you'd say to them today to encourage them to take that next step?
Sure. Well, that verse in the Bible where Paul says God uses us as jars of clay, meaning mundane, ordinary jars of clay, meaning God will use us not despite our weaknesses, but because of our weaknesses. So we feel shy, untrained, ill-prepared, perfect. God will use us because of that, not despite that. God wants shy, awkward people to share his gospel.
Even I feel qualified at that point. Sam, thank you so much for joining us today, and God bless you and the work that you continue to do, and God bless the work of City Bible Forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stu. Thank you so much for having me here.
I'll be back in just a moment.
I think people are amazing. We can turn dark to light. We can fly through storms. We can change worlds, but we can't always do it alone. If you need help, we could work together. Find out more at wesleymission.org.au. We are here for you.
Over the coming few weeks, I'd like to share with you a message I shared at our annual Easter breakfast outreach event earlier this year. Back then, I was only 5 months into my role as CEO and Superintendent of Wesley Mission, and in the early stages of finding my way around the diversity of services that we run around the state and around our nation. Let's take a look together. The last 5 months have been a whirlwind. As I've got to know the Wesley Mission family, and it's quite a family, 11 congregations, 130 different locations, 120 different service programs. And I think if I'm at this breakfast in 10 years' time, I'll still be tripping over places and people and services that we provide that I had no idea we did. It's a little bit overwhelming at times. But Sue and I, my wife who's with me this morning, over the last 5 months, we've visited a number of those locations, including some road trips up along the coast, up towards the New South Wales-Queensland border. And just a couple of weeks ago, we visited our friends in Coffs Harbour. And in Coffs Harbour, we have a number of services, but one of those services is a youth refuge, which has been running for some time. And we visited with Mina and the team there, and we were deeply, profoundly moved by the stories they told us of the impact they're making on the lives of young people in the Coffs Harbour region. But when we moved through the youth refuge, we moved into the dining area, and in the dining area there was a large brown table, just nondescript table, a typical table in a large dining room. But above the dining table there was a painting, and my eye was immediately drawn to the painting. The painting was, I discovered through Mina, who manages the centre, was painted by one of the former residents. Her name is Chelsea. I have her permission to tell this story today. And Chelsea, as she came into the refuge as a 16-year-old, struggling with some mental health issues, struggling with some issues at home, really needing some help and assistance. And for 3 or 4 months, she lived in our Coffs Harbour Youth Refuge, and over time was able to begin to find that strength and inner resilience, enabling her to find more permanent housing solutions for herself and a way forward. And when her time at the youth refuge came to an end, Mina and the team asked her, they'd seen how her artistic her ability had been demonstrated. They said, we'd love for you to do a painting for us. We would love to commission you to do a painting. We'll pay you for a painting. And so this is what Chelsea painted. And when Mina asked her, why did you paint, this is the dining room table, and if you can't see it, above the dining room table is the vision statement, the mission statement for Wesley Mission. Do all the good you can because every life matters. And Chelsea, when she was asked the question why she painted the dining room table as this moment she remembers from her 3 or 4 months in the refuge, she said, it's been a long, long, long time since I've had the opportunity to sit around a table, to have a conversation, to feel that sort of hospitality, that welcome and that safety. That's been the greatest gift that I've received here in this place. And when Mina told me that story, I thought, this is Wesley Mission. This is who we are. A place of welcome, of radical hospitality, of inclusivity. And, I was profoundly and deeply moved. And this image has stayed with me. This story has stayed with me ever since. And as we were coming into this Easter season, I also thought of another painting. It's one that's very familiar to all of you. It's a painting in a dim, lamp-lit room, an upper room in Jerusalem. The events of tomorrow night are depicted in it. And the theme that we have for this Easter week is while it is at its darkest, God does his finest work. And we see in this semi-dark room, Jesus prophetically enacting what will be his finest work. And the painting I'm talking about, of course, is Da Vinci's The Last Supper, painted in the late 15th century in a refectory in a convent just outside of Milan. And it took him 5 years to paint this masterpiece. But in this masterpiece, we have depicted in time, we have a moment in time where Jesus is saying, as the meal commences, as the meal unfolds, very truly I tell you, one of you is going to betray me. His disciples stared at one another at a loss to know which one of them he meant. Now, this meal was a very simple meal. It was a Passover meal, some lamb, some bread, some wine. It was nothing remarkable about the meal itself. But what was remarkable was the guest list. A more diverse guest list would be difficult to find. I mean, this was a guest list was full of misfits and rejects, and I'm going to date myself now, the fish that John West reject. Now, today we say we are what we eat. In Jesus' day, you were who you ate with. And Jesus, the rabbi, the teacher, the man of honour, the man who had status, power, authority within his community, he chose to eat with tax collectors, with rebels, with betrayers, with fishermen, with peasants. Jesus willingly lowered himself in order to elevate his friends. And that had been his story for the 3 years of his public ministry. Again and again and again, Jesus moved to the margins and to the people on the margins. And what I want to do in just the few moments I have is to focus on 4 of those misfits, those guests that were at the table with him. John, Judas, Thomas, and Peter. And what their story and their interactions with Jesus might have to say to us. I'll continue with the next instalment in this series next week and look at how Jesus interacted with John, Judas, Thomas, and Peter. They were 4 very different characters in the story of Jesus. 4 different personalities who are drawn to Jesus and who each play a different role and who we can all learn from. I'll unpack more of that in coming weeks. I hope you'll be able to join me when we do. I'll be back in just a moment.
At Wesley Mission, we see kindness change kids' worlds. You can find out more at wesleymission.org.au. We are here for you.
I hope you enjoyed the program today. I found the conversation with Sam stimulating and would encourage you to go to the Wesley Mission website and watch it again. There you can also watch past episodes of Wesley Impact and find out all the info you need to get in touch with us if we can be of help to you, a friend, a family member in any way. We're always prepared to roll up our sleeves and do what we can. As always, I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week on Wesley Impact. Every blessing to you and to those you love.
Wesley Mission walks alongside people of all ages struggling with homelessness, addictions, mental health issues and financial stress. To find out more, visit wesleymission.org.au.